Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and the message reads like this. Hello, my brother. How are you? My English is not very good, but I will try as much as I can to give you my story. My story goes on like this. Currently, I am a lady who is aged 29 years old. My story goes on like this. I used to be a prostitute before I had gotten married to my current husband. At that time, when I used to be a prostitute, usually I used to get high profile clients, but there was a time in my life after I had slept with this other high profile client, then I got so sick. I want to tell you everything that happened before I had met that client. So, in the business that we were doing, there was a lot of competition because at the place that we used to go to, it was a VIP club. So a lot of ladies, they would compete against each other. Even the owner of that VIP club, it seemed as if he enjoyed the competition that was going on amongst us. What he will do is that per night he would only allow about 10 girls or less than 10 girls into that club. Then there will be men that will be competing against those 10 girls that would have been allowed into that club. He used to say that he would do this so that the girls that were always available at his club can earn a basic salary, but he was not responsible of handling anyone's cash. Each and everyone was responsible for their own income. All that he did was that he provided us a safe place so that we can meet up with our clients. Even upstairs, there were 3 bedrooms that were always readily available to us. And at the end of the month, we all had to contribute towards the rent of that place, and it was very expensive. And if you failed to contribute throughout the month, you were not going to be allowed into that club. So this was quite unfair because some of the ladies, it seemed as if they were finding so much favor in that man's eyes, the one who owned that VIP club, because each and every day they would always be available in the club. So for them to contribute money that would go towards the rent, it was not very painful. But for some of us who were really unlucky, you would find out that on a monthly basis, you were taking out a lot of money, and just for a few nights, you would then be allowed to get into that club. So what the ladies that I was working with started doing is that they started to bewitch each other. Usually, what they would do is that, let's say that you get a client and you go into that room and you spend something like an hour or more than an hour with you being with your client. So sometimes you can even forget, as ladies, we have this soft cloth. They are small towels but very soft that we use to wipe ourselves after sleeping with a man. Sometimes, due to the pressure and stress as well, you can forget to remove that towel from that room. So some of the ladies, what they will do is that when she enters into that room next, she will then steal that towel and she would go and visit either a voodoo priest or whatever, a herbalist or anything. Then they will sort you out so much that you will see that whenever you are with your clients, the client will even get off from top of you, and the client will tell you that you are not tasty at all. And my brother, this thing, it's happened to me quite a number of times. And whenever something like this would have happened to you, you can even go on a dry spell whereby you do not have clients for something like 2 weeks or anything. You will just be surviving. So there was this other friend of mine. She used to be a prostitute as well, but she was going to another, just a regular club where a lot of people that didn't have money used to go to that club. She then told me that if that was the case that was happening to me, what I needed was some kind of protection. We then went to this other priestess. When we went to that priestess said that I was supposed to dedicate my life to the altar. If I was going to dedicate my life to the altar, then I was going to catch some big fish. Those are the correct words that she told me. And I was really happy because big fish meant big money. This is what she said. She then told me that she was going to give me 4 eggs. These eggs, I was supposed to push them into my private parts all at once. I said, is it not going to be painful? She then said, yes, it is going to be painful, but once all of those eggs are inside your private parts, then you are going to be okay. You won't feel any pain at all. So, my brother, after the rituals had been done, she then gave me those eggs that I was supposed to push inside my private parts. We bought a 2-liter bottle of lubrication, that lubrication that people use when they just want to have fun while least having intercourse. Me and my friend, we were together in her room, and I was really scared. I laid myself on the bed and I opened my legs. Then she took that lubrication. She would dip that egg inside that 2-liter bottle that had that lubrication. Then she will start to push it into my private parts. It was the most painful thing that had ever happened to me. One egg went into my private parts, and I would feel it, my brother, as it was stand, and I felt that egg as it was pinned against my uterus. Then she pushed another and she pushed another. Those eggs, my brother, they all went into my private parts. And when she looked at me, she said that I cannot see anything. They have all disappeared. After that, that lady had told me that I was not supposed to walk around and I was not supposed to risk breaking those eggs. And what I did is that for several days, I lay in bed, and whenever I would feel that I wanted to poo, that friend of mine would take a 5-liter bucket. Then I'll just make a plan whilst I was lying on that bed, and I'll just poo as well as peeing. I was just peeing myself. I was even wearing those adult diapers. For all of those days, my brother, that the priestess had set for me, I spent it all whilst I was lying in bed. My friend would go to work at night, and when the morning would come, she would come back. She used to leave me locked up in her room. After I had finished doing all of those rituals, we then traveled back to that priestess shrine, and she told me that it was time for her to remove those eggs. And when she removed those eggs from my private parts, my brother, they were dark in color. They had changed the color. They no longer had that normal color that eggs have, but they had all turned into sort of like a grayish color, grayish or a blackish color. She then removed them and she took them to the altar on her shrine, and she dedicated my life on that shrine. After that, she took some herbs and she started rubbing those herbs on my private parts. Then I started to feel so much better, because when those eggs were inside my private parts, I felt as if there was painful gases that were in my private parts. It was really painful, but after that, I felt I was okay. She then said that you are going to have a very big client. When you have that big client, when the money starts coming in, you need to come here first before you spend any of that money. This was quite easy, my brother. Little did I know what was waiting for me. I then met this other man, that high profile client that I told you about. When I had met that man, he then said that he had found me to be very nice. He had never been in bed with a woman who tasted the way that I tasted, but I only understood that the reason as to why he was saying this, it was because of all the herbs that had been sprinkled on my private parts. That man one day, he said, I want you to meet me up at this other hotel. I said, it is fine. When I went to that hotel, he then said that, did you bring your passport? I said, I left my passport back home. Why? He then said, let us go and collect it. I have a surprise for you, because we are going on my private jet. So just for purposes of you being secure, you need to have your passport. But I said, the passport is back in the village. He said, okay, a man has to make a plan. We then went to the airport. But the airport where we went to, it was a military one. When we went in there, my brother, I then saw that in our country there is too much corruption and nothing can ever work in our country because of the corruption that is there. I didn't have any documents at all, but I was allowed into that military facility. We entered into that military airport and we then saw that that was where his jet was at. But this jet, my brother, it even had some decorations that showed that the jet belonged to the military in our country. We got onto that jet, then we started having fun. So this was like the first time for me to be on a plane, let alone being on a very beautiful and a luxurious private jet. Life was really good when that private jet was flying way above the clouds. When I would look down, I then said that this is the life that I want, and I do not want to ever fall down to poverty again. I wanted to be a high flyer for the rest of my life. The moment that we landed, my brother, he then told us that we were in another country, and this country that we were in, it is in Africa as well. I then said, am I going to be arrested because I do not have any ID card on me? I have no passport, I have nothing. He then laughed at me and he said that money can make you go to places that you can't even go when you are poor. We got checked in into that country, my brother, even though I didn't have a passport. I was just given this other passport, and when I looked at that passport, I could not even read the name that was written on that passport. It seemed as if the passport that was given to me, it belonged to a local woman. So in that moment, it seemed as if I was a citizen of that country. Yet I had never been in that country before. We checked in, my brother, without any problems at all. That was when our vacation started. We spent about 3 weeks whilst we were in that country. So that man, he then told me the amount that he was wanted to give me. So all that time whilst I was on my vacation, I had forgotten the rules that I was supposed to follow. The money that my first big fish that I had caught was going to give me, all of that money was supposed to be taken back to that shrine. But in that moment, life was very beautiful. We were at this other beach when he handed me the money and he said, baby, this is yours. You can do whatever you want with this money. The first thing that came to my mind was that I just wanted to go for shopping, and I asked him and I said, can we go for shopping? And he said, it is fine, we can go for shopping. And we started shopping and shopping. At first I thought that maybe he was going to pay for me, but unfortunately, my brother, he had this other American Express card. When he tried to swipe it, we don't know what was happening. Maybe the machines were not accepting that type of a card that he had. So I had to use my cash. I didn't even think about it. I ended up using my own cash. Then we returned back to the hotel. Life was very beautiful. But when we were about to fall asleep, that was when the electricity went, and we just thought that maybe it was normal. But at that hotel that we were at, they had even some backup generators. All of them, when they switched them off, they refused to go on for about 3 hours or so. Then the electricity came back, but just before the electricity had came back, my partner, he was already fast asleep because he had been drinking a lot. That was when I heard that there was something that was underneath the bed. This thing, my brother, the way that it was vibrating, it was making the whole bed to vibrate. I then got off the bed, and when I looked underneath the bed, I saw that there were four newborn babies. I looked at them and I said, what is going on with these kids? And they were crying. Then they just disappeared. And I just went into bed. I was really scared. That was when I started thinking of the rules that I was supposed to follow. And I said, it doesn't matter. When I go back to that priestess, we are going to make a plan. Besides, I didn't use all of the money. I still have some of the money, and that man, he had promised that he was going to give me more money on top of the money that he had already given me. After our vacation, we then traveled back into our country just like before. We landed at that military facility. No questions were ever asked until we had gotten out of that military facility. He went and he dropped me off at the residence that he was renting for me at that time. That was when that priestess visited me. The way that she visited me, just a moment, my brother, when I turned around, I was just brushing my teeth and I saw that she was standing right there behind me. I asked her what she was doing and was she real. She then said that I was very stupid to ask her such a question. She then said that, where is the money that your client has given you? I then took the money and she disappeared, and she said that I was supposed to follow her to her shrine immediately. I went there with my friend, my brother. When I went there, I saw that all the money that I had given to her, it seemed as if there was something that he had chewed up the money. This really broke my heart because I had worked so hard for this money. Then she said that, you see what the shrine has done, you see what the shrine is going to demand from you. Look at how it has rejected the money that you have brought because you have removed a portion of that money. Didn't I tell you that you are supposed to bring all of the money? I then said, is it possible that you can write me down as a sort of like a credit so that I can bring the rest of the money? She then said that you are very stupid and the shrine is going to punish you. After that, she then kicked me and my friend out of her shrine. I then went back home and I said, it doesn't matter. I have found the one that is going to take care of me. When I returned back home, I then saw a message on my phone. That partner of mine who had taken me on that vacation, he was really angry. It seemed as if when he started dating me, his own businesses as well started going down. He was angry at me. Why he was angry at me, I didn't even understand. He said that he wanted to meet up with me the following day. So I went to sleep, my brother. But when I was sleeping, I saw that man. He came into the room where I was sleeping in, me and my friend, but he was not a man, he was a frog. He jumped onto the bed, and automatically when that frog jumped onto that bed that I was sleeping on, then I opened wide my legs and I started removing my clothes and I started to have sexual intercourse with that frog. After that was done, my brother, then I woke up, and when I woke up, I saw that there were some sticky fluid that were all over my private parts. From there on, my brother, I felt so sick, and if it was not for God, I could have died. Then I tried calling that big fish, that partner of mine that had taken me onto a vacation, and he just dropped my calls. He kept on dropping my calls until one day I saw this other very big car that was just standing outside the apartment where me and my friend were staying at that time. And when that bodyguard came, and then they came a very huge man out of that car, and that man was even holding a gun, but he was holding it in such a way that people were not supposed to see that he was holding a gun. When I saw everything, I ran inside, and that man, he just looked at me and he said, that was a warning, you should stop calling him, otherwise you are going to call him whilst you are 6 feet underground. My brother, I then stopped having any kind of communication with that guy. But after all of these things, my brother, it happened, I then saw that the way that I am down there, it is no longer normal. I am now a born again Christian, but I am still struggling. I am even afraid to get into a relationship because that sticky fluid that I woke up and saw that it was there on my private part. I don't know if it was acid or what, but when I look at my private parts, it seemed as if that sticky fluid then started eating up the flesh on top of my private part. It is very scary to look at. I don't think that there is a man out there that can be brave enough to sleep with me in the light. We only have to sleep with each other when it will be dark because of the way that I am. I bet with my money that no man will be brave enough to sleep with me with the way that I am. Dear listeners, right there was a message that I received. And our sister was saying that she is now a born-again Christian, but she is suffering from the sins that she did before she had given her life to Jesus Christ.